Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now we're still seeing this warning signal flash on the Bitcoin chart as the price of Bitcoin is still struggling around this key area of resistance, alongside Ethereum also still struggling around this resistance, while Solana is now retesting this area of support here in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, and right now the super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, so getting straight into the 2-day Bitcoin chart, and right now we're still within this massive descending broadening wedge pattern, essentially a larger bearish trend on these larger time frames, and this line of resistance is currently sitting at around 66,000, so obviously being a descending line of resistance, it is slowly lowering in price. And so in order to flip much more bullish again on the larger time frames, we need to see a breakout at least above around 66 to 67,000 and ideally back above 68,000, because that's also significant resistance, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But first, taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, and right now we're seeing a very slight movement back to the upside again since the last few days here in the DXY. Because obviously, as I explained in my last video here on the channel, just over around 2 days ago now, we did see relatively flat price action in the DXY over the last couple of days, but just over the last 1 day since my last video, we've seen a very slight move to the upside again in the DXY. Now, so far, it's nothing too major compared to this previous move that we saw just last week. But it is still something to pay attention to because, as I've been saying here on the channel, if we see a continued bullish move here in the DXY, that's a bearish signal or a warning signal for the price of Bitcoin. As we saw last week, we saw a massive spike to the upside in the DXY, which was potentially one of the main reasons that helped to cause this dump in the price of Bitcoin that we saw roughly around a week ago. And so I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on the DXY moving forward. And as always, I'll keep you up to date every day here on the channel. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos. And getting straight into this daily Bitcoin chart, as of right now, we're continuing this short-term rejection exactly from this area of resistance, still obviously acting as strong resistance as we've seen previously. And that's sitting in between around 64.1k to 64,500 approximately. And so once again, that is the area of resistance to pay attention to, at least in the short term. And we could find a small amount of resistance at around 63,000 as well, in case we see a slight bounce here. But even if we were to see a confirmed breakout back above 64,500, we still have strong resistance up here at starting at around 67,000 and going up towards around 68,000. So strong resistance based on previous price action. And so that's why we ideally need to see a confirmed breakout above 68,000, which would also be breaking out above this descending line of resistance right here on the 2-day time frame before we can start flipping much more bullish again on these larger time frames, expecting a longer term bullish trend, also known as a bull run. And so on the larger time frames, nothing has really changed over the last 1 day in that regard. So getting straight into the smaller time frames, looking at the 6-hour Bitcoin chart. And as I mentioned in my last video here on the channel, we basically already played out this oversold signal pretty much perfectly over the last 1 week, give or take, around half a week to 1 week. But like I said yesterday, this RSI has already reset back to the upside out of those oversold territories and even above neutral. It got to the point where it was closer to overbought than it was to oversold, which means we technically now have more room to the downside again here in the RSI and in the price action. Because an oversold signal, just like an overbought signal, is not necessarily a trend reversal signal. So obviously oversold, the opposite of overbought, basically means we do to see a bit of a break or a setback potentially during the current trend. So for example, we saw an overbought signal right here, and that resulted in either a slight pullback or some choppy sideways price action, which reset the RSI, giving us more room to the upside later on during the bullish trend. And once again, an oversold signal is the opposite of that. So it is still possible that we could remain within more of a bearish trend at the moment. So basically, in order to flip much more bullish again in terms of the trend and momentum, we need to see other bullish signals, not just this one. So for example, confirmed breakouts above key resistance is really what we need to see before we can start flipping much more bullish again in terms of the trend and momentum. But in the immediate short term, there's actually a good chance that the price could bounce around within this sideways price range, considering we do have significant support in this price range right here in between around 60.2k to 61.2k acting as major support. But once again, we still have major resistance going up towards around 64,500. So considering that support and resistance, there's a good chance that we could basically just chop around sideways within a bit of a sideways price range, maybe for the next few days or so, possibly even longer. But believe it or not, you can actually easily profit from choppy sideways price action just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, personally, I take just about all of my trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, I'll take you to this page right here, which is my cryptoworld team in the World Series of Trading, and it's completely free to join this team if you want to, which, by the way, the World Series of Trading is a trading competition, and this year has a total prize pool of $10 million. And also, just by entering the competition and joining my team, you enter into this lucky draw right here, where you could potentially win a Rolex watch or even a luxury yacht just by entering the competition and joining my team. Link down below. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there's also Bitfinex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitfinex, which means if you're in the US or the UK, for example, or another country where you might not be able to access Bybit, you can access Bitfinex. So I'll also leave a link to Bitfinex down below this video. And if you use that link, you can get up to a 5.5k deposit bonus. And only if you use that link below this video, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitfinex exchange forever. But that's only if you use the link down below this video to make your Bitfinex account. And so as another option out there other than Bybit, once again, there's Bitfinex links down below if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But with that being said, getting into the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and obviously over the last day or so, we've seen a slight short-term cool off, basically rejecting from that area of resistance that I've already been talking about over the last 1 to 2 days. But if we're strictly looking at the areas of liquidity to pay attention to, we have a small amount of liquidity at around 61,500, give or take, and we have a small amount of liquidity in between 64,500 to 65,000, and we do have a significant level of liquidity at around 59.8k, and also a significant level of liquidity at around 66,500. So those are the points of interest to pay attention to on this Bitcoin chart right here. And as we can see, a lot of that liquidity is pretty much evenly split above and below the price. So we have a decent amount of liquidity below and a decent amount of liquidity above, which is ultimately quite neutral, at least as of right now, which is why I said earlier, there's a good chance that maybe over the next few days, possibly longer, maybe for a week or so, we're likely going to just chop around sideways for a little bit here in the short term during this sideways price range to take out both upside and downside liquidity here in the short term. And with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, and right now we're still holding above this major area of support, still sitting in between 2150 to 2.2k, and technically speaking, the larger trend is still currently bearish, considering we've not fully confirmed a bullish trend reversal here on the larger time frames. And as for resistance, we still have a decent amount of resistance, close to 2,500, and strong resistance at around 2.8k based on previous support and a previous Fibonacci level. And if we're taking a look at the 12-hour time frame, obviously over the last 1 day or so, we basically saw a slight rejection and a break back below this area right here, which is once again acting as a bit of short-term resistance. And this is sitting in between around 2440 to around 2470 approximately here on the 12-hour time frame. And so for now, we should be expecting the price to keep struggling around that area just in the short term. But if we can ultimately confirm a breakout above this area of resistance and ultimately see some sort of successful retest, actually confirming it as new support and seeing a proper bounce from that area, holding it as support, In that case, of course, that would be a short-term bullish signal, and in that case, would see the next major area of resistance come into play, sitting in between around 2550 to 2580, and above that area, we have massive resistance in between 2.7k to 2.8k. And as for short-term support, we do have some major support right here based on previous price action, and that's sitting in between around 2280 to 2320. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour time frame, obviously over the last half a week to nearly 1 week now, we perfectly played out that oversold signal here in the 8-hour Ethereum RSI, as I've already been talking about over the last half a week to nearly 1 week now. But as I've also been saying, this is not necessarily a bullish trend reversal signal. Sometimes it just means a slight bullish relief or some choppy sideways price action during more of a bearish trend. And so we just have to keep in mind the fact that we have already reset the RSI back to the upside, back towards more neutral levels out of those oversold territories, which technically means we now have some more room to the downside again in the RSI and the price action. And so ultimately, we cannot really rely on this signal for any longer. So basically, we need to see a confirmed breakout above these key levels of resistance before we can start flipping much more bullish again and expect more of a sustainable bullish trend. But considering the fact that Ethereum usually follows along with similar price action to what Bitcoin is playing out, ultimately things are looking relatively neutral just in the short term, because if Bitcoin is going to be chopping around sideways, there's a good chance that Ethereum will also pretty much chop around sideways for a little bit here in the short term, maybe for the next few days or so, as a likely scenario. And with that being said, taking a look at Solana on the daily time frame, and over the last 1 day, we've now retested this area of support based on previous support and resistance, and that's sitting in between around 137 to 142. And at least so far, as I've recorded in this video, this is currently holding up as support. And of course, if we were to see a break below this area with candle closes back below 137, of course, in that case, that would be a short-term bearish signal, most likely pointing towards a continued move towards this area of support in between around 120 to 128. But once again, for now, around 137 to 142 is still the support to pay attention to. And as for resistance, we do have some resistance at around 152 to 154 based on previous price action, and significant resistance at around 159 to 163. And if we're taking a look at the 6-hour Solana chart, we can obviously see that oversold signal already played out pretty much perfectly over the last half a week to nearly 1 week now. So like I said, also in my last video here on the channel, and for Bitcoin and Ethereum in this video, we can't really rely on this signal too much longer because it's pretty much already played out at this point. And so technically speaking, the RSI has reset, giving us some more room to the downside again in the price and the RSI, which means we ultimately need to see other bullish confirmation signals confirm to basically flip much more bullish again, like for example, confirmed breakouts above key resistance, which for now we've not really seen, but at least for now, we're still holding above this major area of support, which is some good news. And so like I said earlier, for Bitcoin and Ethereum, a likely scenario for the price of Solana as well on the daily time frame, just in the short term, maybe for the next few days or so, is most likely going to be some choppy sideways price action, essentially range bound within a bit of a sideways price range between support and resistance. And so we just have to keep in mind the price is not always going to be completely bullish or completely bearish. There are some time periods in the market where the price is kind of just chopping around sideways in the short term, and that's likely going to happen for the next few days or so as the most likely scenario based on all of this information. But if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how you can profit from crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.